The Saints are looking to bounce back as they continue to extend this winning window. Their big addition this year, quarterback Derek Carr. Is it enough to get the Saints back to the postseason? We'll look at that here today on this episode of Locked On NFL Scouting.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On NFL Scouting your first listen every day. And of course, a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who would never miss a single episode. We appreciate y'all being here very, very much.
Joe, happy National Kyle Nails the cold open on the first try day.
It was absolutely beautiful. I had a big panic moment. We're getting ready to push record. Time for the cold open. Joe realizes that he doesn't have one written, and Kyle does it off the cuff and nails it.
Why not? Happy Draft Dudes Wear Blue Day as well.
Thank you. Happy end of this series day to you.
Last one.
Yeah. Team specific one.
Team number 32.
Why'd we pick the Saints for last, Kyle? What happened there?
Do you want to say it or should I say it?
I don't know how it happened, Kyle. I don't know how it happened. I think we were making some adjustments to the schedule, and
you know what it was? We were clicking and dragging because we had more college prospects tucked in here throughout.
Yeah, and then y'all didn't listen to those episodes.
You guys didn't listen to the college prospect episodes in June, so we said we're not going to do them right now. We're going to do them later. So we'll do more team stuff. So we click and drag and move teams up. And methinks the Saints accidentally got somebody else put on top of them while we were moving stuff around and we didn't notice. And then at the end of last week, I'm getting ready to work ahead a little bit. I did like the Titans at the end of last week, which is a show we did on Monday. And I'm like, we don't have the Saints on the schedule at all.
Dude, that'd have been a complete, if we forgot them all together, dude, that would not be good. We did that several years ago. We were doing team by team draft recaps. And we forgot one team. Was it Seattle or something like that? And we did not mean to, but Seattle fans were like, hey, we've been waiting for like the entire month for this. What happened? Like,
guess we better do it.
Yeah. So, hey, we got them all in.
We got team number 32. And it's easier. It would have been easier for us to catch it because we have a spreadsheet that keeps track of all the scoring for all the teams. And all reds across the entire row because we didn't do them and didn't grade them would have stood out pretty hard when we started to do the next chapter and stuff. So we got you, Saints fans.
All right. Well, it's Who Dat Nation.
Yes.
Who Dat? All right. We got it.
Right. I always remember Who Dat versus Who Day because I sing it's Who Dat say they gonna beat them Saints. Like,
wait, are you sure that's the right one? Are you sure it's not Who Day think they gonna beat them Bengals? Like, are you sure?
Let's move on.
Whoa, because you're not sure?
I'm going to float around and produce this thing and Google it to confirm, but it's like 98% sure it's Who Dat say they're going to beat them Saints.
I think it's the other way.
Google search who automatically. It's most widely used by fans of the New Orleans Saints and American football team. The entire chant is Who Dat say they going to beat them Saints.
Okay, all right.
Say less.
Here we are.
You're supposed to be an NFL expert.
I know.
You don't even know Who Dat versus
what
Who
an idiot.
Which was an awesome comment that we got when we did the Bengals.
All right, let's
You're
talk
an NFL expert. Don't even know Who Dat versus Who Day. Yeah, like that's the litmus test of NFL knowledge. Is the fan chants.
All right, New Orleans Saints, you're up. We've spent time studying the film. We've analyzed your roster. We've checked the tape. Okay. We've categorized every player. And now we want to talk about what this team is entering 2023. We'll focus first on the offensive side of the football where there's a new quarterback, Derek Carr, taking over as a quarterback of this football team with, I guess, Foster Moreau is a nice new addition at tight end, but largely the same cast of characters. Jamaal Williams, a new addition at running back to go with Alvin Kamara. Where do you want to start this conversation when it comes to the offense?
Man, the homer in me wants to talk about Chris Olave, who was just a massive brand dub for both of us. But I think the conversation probably should start with the rest of the skill group, where they obviously made an investment to bring in Jamaal Williams as a complementary back to Alvin Kamara. We still have Michael Thomas with whatever Michael Thomas is at this stage in his career. I think that's the thing that I look at that makes the hit for Chris Olave so critical is we're starting to see a little bit of a downturn in Alvin Kamara. We have not seen, I think I saw a stat. It was, who was it? N'Keal Harris had the same amount of catches and yards as Michael Thomas in like the last 3 years or something. Like a crazy stat. And I can't confirm that it was N'Keal Harris. So if I could float around and produce this thing and find it, but he has not been available in spite of, a very large commitment from the team in the midst of when they were trying to extend out this winning window. And that's obviously hurt the offensive depth. Now, I think the development of Juwan Johnson as a very viable pass catching tight end is a huge hit for them. But I do question how deep is this skill room in its totality to give the Saints enough juice in a division that has some good defenses, and I like the construction of the offensive line. We need to see Trevor Penning develop, but I always come back to this group and say, man, I wish we had like one more pass catcher.
Yeah. Been saying that for a long time, right? But if Michael Thomas is healthy and something like the Michael Thomas we remember, Chris Olave, absolutely love what he showed as a rookie. And then, Rashid Shaheed here, I mean, late in the season last year, that guy was producing.
Yeah.
And, if he can kind of be an X factor for this offense, I mean, I think Foster Moreau is a really nice addition to this tight end room. They got some depth at running back. I feel like I think it is fair to question Thomas and Shaheed, right? Like just like fully what they are at this point. But like you mentioned there's some solid components of this offensive line. Obviously, Eric McCoy, a stalwart at center, Ryan Ramczyk, one of the best offensive tackles in the game. I'm excited for Trevor Penning. Glad he got a few reps last year. We'll see on Andrews Pete. I mean, I feel like he's underwhelmed me for a while now, and he's handsomely paid. Cesar Ruiz seems like an okay starter at right guard. Maybe not everything you wanted from a first-round pick, but there's some nice depth here. I mean, James Hurst, I think that guy has been, over the last 10 years, has there been a better backup offensive lineman that's had to like
utility offensive lineman
all the time stepping in for like key players like at left tackle, at left guard, at right tackle? I mean, this guy is everything you want in a backup offensive lineman. Now they add Billy Price, and nice young player, Nick Saldiveri. There's some.
I'm so mad they got Saldiveri.
He's a nice player,
y'all didn't need him.
He's going to be starting. He will start next year at one of those guard spots.
Yes, he will. Yeah. You're absolutely right. So I think the way that I could probably best vocalize the thought that I was working through at the start was I do wish we had one more guy. I think there's a lot of depth in this skill group, which is surprising because you don't think Saints in depth because of their maturation over the last 2 years and getting through kind of their salary cap transition. It's cost them depth, but I think they have good depth in the skill group. I just wish there was another guy when you're projecting for what Michael Thomas has been the last few years and kind of the downturn in efficiency on a per touch basis of Alvin Kamara last year. I do have this stat, and it's courtesy of @RotoSurgeon, and it came from that tweet at the beginning of the week. Name an NFL stat that seems fake but isn't.
Oh, yeah, I got caught up in that for a while.
Other day. I went down that vortex and circled the bowl for about 4 hours reading all the tweets. Tim Tebow's the only Denver Broncos quarterback drafted by the team to win a playoff game. How's that for a stat?
Yeah, that's insane. For a team that's won a lot of playoff games, you know what I mean? Well, John Elway obviously influences a lot of that, and he was a Colt where he
drafted by the Colts.
Drafted by the Colts, wouldn't play, trade, yeah.
So the stat from @RotoSurgeon is N'Keal Harris the exact same amount of receiving yards and touchdowns as Michael Thomas since 2020.
Yikes.
609 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. And Michael Thomas has 4 more receptions than N'Keal Harris in that same stretch of time.
I think Pete Carmichael deserves maybe a few flowers here for what he was able to get done with his offense last year. Not sitting here and saying it was a great offense, but you didn't have the quarterback situation be what it was intended to be. Andy Dalton kind of takes over and plays pretty well despite not really having a whole lot in terms of wide receivers, like kind of piece it together. And it feels like the outlook here, you have a defined plan at quarterback. Like it feels like this offense is going to be a lot better this coming season. If not, I mean, obviously Derek Carr's arrival should lead to that, but I think building off of some of what they learned last year will be very helpful for them in 2023.
Unleash Chris Olave.
Just throw it. 150 targets for Chris Olave this year. Let's go.
Dude got 119 in 15 games last year. I think we're getting there.
Let's do it. All right. Well, look, we're going to talk about the defense here in just a moment. But first, take your first swing at betting Major League Baseball on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 that you can spend betting everything from the money line to over-unders to who you think is going to hit the first home run in a game. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. Simply no better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
Joe, before we go to the defensive side of the ball,
Yeesh.
I have a programming note. We have live takes on takes tonight on YouTube at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. We're expecting everybody to come mentally prepared for a good you-know-what time with all your hot takes. Nice tumbler, Joe.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
you like
respect
that one?
Your fanhood.
Oh wow,
I respect your fanhood.
I mean, I liked your Waddle mug, so
thanks. It's actually up here over.
I saw it. It's mounted on the wall.
Yeah,
you got a coffee
well,
cup
it's not mounted. I just got a thing so I can rotate the mugs out. So if I want to give shout out to the heritage with the NDT Scouting,
there it is, the OG.
Yeah. I have the OG, the black and white one over there on my nightstand. I won't go get that right now though. But so we are live on YouTube at 9:00 tonight for live takes on takes. At 8:00, did you see what Ted Wynn and Coach Vass are doing?
No, because I have a meeting at 8:00.
I understand that, but I'm telling this for everybody else's education.
Okay.
Ted Wynn and Coach Vass are going to be talking ball on Twitter Spaces with Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka.
Oh, good get.
So great opportunity for you guys to have a lot of fun football content coming your way this evening. But I wanted to, obviously, Joe, your fanhood and Brian Daboll and the affinity for all of that coaching staff, I wanted to let you know that Kafka is going to be on Twitter Spaces for a Q&A session
while I'm in a staff meeting.
You're on a staff meeting. Yeah, awesome. But then we have takes on takes at 9. So should be a fun night playing accordingly. But let's talk more about the Saints defense now.
Yep. A lot of turnover on this defensive line. And
I think it's a good thing.
I would agree with that.
I think it's a good thing.
Obviously Cam Jordan, just an unbelievable career. Maybe
timeless.
Yeah, timeless. Maybe for the first time I thought his impact was a little bit less last year. But I like these additions. Brian Bresee in the first round, I think he will be a big-time answer for them. Nathan Shepard's a nice free agent signing. Colin Saunders is a nice free agent signing. But I'm intrigued by a couple of these young players as well. I mean, Carl Granderson and Tano Passignon, they've really stepped up as quality depth players. And Peyton Turner, let's see, year 3 for him. It's got to come together as a late first-round pick, but Isaiah Foskey, a nice addition to this group. So I'm very surprised with how much turnover is here, but also how much talent remains and intriguing young players to, take this unit to the next level. And obviously, I mean, I always start these conversations with the O-line and D-line, and Saints have been a team that's prioritized the trenches for a number of years. And I think that's allowed them to stay very, very competitive and give them a chance every week. But I like the makeup of this unit and a lot of the youth that's been added to it.
Just hope that we don't incur injuries on the inside.
Correct.
Because I love Colin Saunders, really athletic, big guy. Saints paid him pretty impressively to come in here in free agency. And Nathan Shepard, of course, We were there for the Senior Bowl when he showed up and wrecked shop, and he's had himself a nice career. I think there's a nice floor there with those two guys. And then Bresee is a high upside penetrator that you're hoping can be fully healthy. Of course, that's kind of been the hiccups for him the last few years at Clemson. But what you have behind those three, to be determined. I like the edge depth much better. If you told me Granderson, Foskey, Turner, or Passignon ended up being the starter opposite Cam Jordan, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And I think that's a healthy thing for a room that has some young players. Granderson coming into year 5, he's made a really nice development as he was at Wyoming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Undrafted too, I believe, if I remember correctly.
I know he had injury stuff.
Yes, but like was a toolsy guy, but small school guy, and his pathway. I mean, it's been really fun to watch him kind of develop into this player who, says 6'5", 260. Like, there's very much a mold here for the Saints with these big-bodied, like heavy-hitting defensive ends, and what that gives you for behind those players with the linebackers. I think this is one of the better linebacker rooms in the NFL with their 1 through 4.
Yeah,
with Demario Davis, Pete Werner's awesome. Another big brand win out of Ohio State for us. Then you have Zach Bond as a utility player who maybe hasn't settled into a featured role like I think maybe we thought he would when he was first coming out of Wisconsin. But I do think the versatility is a huge thing in there. And Andrew Dowd's an awesome special teams player, and we have a unique appreciation for Andrew and his football intelligence because he did externship with us when we were at Draft Network and spent a spring watching prospects with him and watching tape and talking with him a lot and seeing him continue to be a team's player. And I believe he re-signed a new contract there this offseason. It is just, it's a really nice core of 4 guys. Plus a draft pick, a day 3 draft pick from last year in DeMarco Jackson. And
there's still plenty of ceiling for Pete Werner, right? I mean, entering year 3, he had an injury last year, but way he started last year, the way he played as a rookie, I'm excited for him in year 3. But I mean, Demario Davis, dude, I think when you make all underrated teams, he's just always the guy that you put at linebacker. But he's a roster cornerstone. He's one of the best linebackers in the NFL. One of my favorite players to watch is Demario Davis. Their safety tandem of Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus May. Again, I don't think they can have an injury there. That's I don't like what they have in terms of depth, but sorting out cornerback is going to be really interesting to me. Obviously, Marshon Lattimore is CB1. You feel like Bradley Roby's probably your defined slot player. But I think we have a fun competition between a couple of recent third-round picks, if I'm not mistaken, in Paulson Adebo and Alante Taylor to be that other guy. And I think that's a healthy competition, and I'm anxious to see which one wins out. I think neither one has played at a consistent enough level that you say that's our guy, but also you've seen good flashes from both players, and even some good growth at times from Adebo. So I think that's one of the unsettled items here on this defense, but I think it's a good competition between a couple of intriguing young players.
I really like the defense. The projected starting lineup is good, and I'll drop the take now that we've gone through the depth chart on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. I think this is the best team in the South.
Ooh, we haven't even got there yet. I was planning on asking you something along those lines.
Yeah. Now, whether or not they stay healthy enough to realize that, because I do think there's some problematic depth spots as they continue to push back, and they're through the worst of that dead cap era for what was it, a 2-year window? I think they're through the worst of that. And you've seen kind of the draft ideology that they've had where they don't make picks for volume, right? They identify guys that they want and they go get those guys.
Oh, we don't trade
always
back.
Very aggressive. Yeah, we don't trade back.
You don't want to move back and get a lesser player. Not my words. Mickey Lewis's words.
I think those two things have kind of combined where depth is still something that I get a little leery about with this team. There's certain position groups that I don't think you can afford to incur an injury on. I think wide receiver is one.
Yeah.
I think defensive tackle is another. I think safety is another. But generally speaking, if you look at the projected starting lineups, I would take this team over the other 3 teams in the South.
Let's unpack that a little bit more in the final segment. I think I agree with you, but I want to flesh out those thoughts right after a very, very quick break.
Okay. Let's do that.
Let's do this.
So for the Saints, we spent a lot of time on this YouTube show with the depth chart up. So you're going to see our mugs here for the last bit. But we're going to talk and define cornerstones, quality starters, and adequate starters across the Saints roster. So for cornerstone players, the only cornerstone player we have identified on the offensive side of the ball is Ryan Ramczyk, who we gave no flowers to as a top 3 right tackle in football. Right? It's Lane Johnson, Penei Sewell, and Ryan Ramczyk.
Yeah, that's the list.
Let me confirm, but I actually have the table up here. Those are the only 3 cornerstone right tackles in football that we assigned. So that's the only cornerstone offensive player. Alvin Kamara, Derek Carr, Eric McCoy, Chris Olave identified as quality starters. Adequate level starters. You have Michael Thomas. Had a hard time with that, but I really just don't know what to do with him in general. Cesar Ruiz, Foster Moreau, who's a new addition, Jamaal Williams, your backup running back, and Jameis Winston, your backup quarterback. One of 2 backup quarterbacks in the NFL to get an adequate starter tag.
Which is funny because is the other one Andy Dalton?
Andy Dalton.
So both of their quarterbacks
Andy
from last
Dalton,
year.
yeah, from Carolina as the other backup. So that on the offensive side of the ball gives you a majority of your starting lineup is adequate starters, quality starters, and roster cornerstones. Defensively, it's even better. You have cornerstones in Cam Jordan, Marshon Lattimore, and Demario Davis. So quality starters in Pete Werner and Tyrann Mathieu. Adequate starters in Bradley Roby and the nickel, Nathan Shepard, and Marcus May. So vast majority, that leaves players like Carl Granderson we have scored as a quality depth option, / Isaiah Foskey as a rookie, / Peyton Turner as a first-round pick, incomplete evaluation. Whoever that other corner is they're 2 young players as day 2 picks. They're incomplete evaluations. And then Brian Bresee is projected to start as a rookie.
It's a good makeup of a roster. And I think in doing that, I think you presented the case for the Saints as perhaps the team that you should view as the favorites in the NFC South. They certainly have the most stable quarterback, right? I mean, Desmond Ridder, yes. Baker Mayfield,
they have
Bryce Young.
The best quarterback.
It's not close.
At least off the information that we have right now.
I mean, those are pretty big question marks for all 3 other teams.
Correct.
I mean, especially comparatively speaking. Now, I like what Carolina has, but maybe there's just too much new there from a coaching and a lot of different pieces. Atlanta has a lot to prove. I mean, Desmond Ridder has a lot to prove with a lot of young players on that offense and a lot of new players on defense that have to come together. The Bucs, pretty stable roster, but I mean, what do we really have at quarterback? Do we have enough pass rush?
Your offensive line's also a lot.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of questions there. Yeah, I think it is the Saints. I think through this process, and we got a little bit more to do with evaluating the coaching dynamics and really stacking the quarterbacks. I feel really good about this Saints team, probably better about this Saints team than any other team in the South, and that should make them the favorites to win it.
So, case in point, if you're just counting with the starting 22, who the teams are with the most cornerstones and quality starters. So what you would perceive to be plus players in your starting lineup, not including special teams, just the 11 on offense, the 11 on defense, the Saints have the most. And they have the best quarterback situation.
I just visited our friends FanDuel Sportsbook.
Oh, tell me something good.
Well, I'm going to give you the odds for the NFC South winner in 2023.
Tell me something good because I'll smash this number.
At the leading candidate, plus 135 is the New Orleans Saints. Okay. Number 2 is the Falcons, plus 220. Carolina's plus 330. Tampa's plus 700.
Wow.
So you could do pretty well. I mean, you could put $20 down on the Saints and win 27. If you're into such things, let's see what their win total is at. Win totals.
I'm gonna guess it's 8.5 or 9.
9.5.
Wow.
So, like, we talk about how this division could go any way, and how competitive it is, and there's probably some truth to that, but FanDuel is definitely leaning into the Saints, projecting about 10 wins, 10 wins.
Do the thing.
Oh, gosh.
I'm going to talk about the schedule here.
Okay.
So just off the cuff, home against the Titans.
Wait, is this a tease opportunity?
This is a great tease because we're going to do playoffpredictors.com on live streams in addition to your regularly scheduled programming. Yeah. We're going to do this, starting 2 weeks from now?
Yeah. Going to help fill in the blanks between now and
so we have takes on takes tonight, and then we're not going to do one next week for the week of the 4th. And then the following week, we're going to do our first Playoff Predictors live stream in addition to your 5 shows. So if you're not on YouTube, I would recommend hitting subscribe on YouTube because you can find us on YouTube or you're listening to your
and podcast. Hit the bell, right? So
hit the bell, get the notifications. Yeah. I digress. Week 1, home against the Titans.
Dub.
At Carolina.
Dub.
At Green Bay.
Dub.
Home against Tampa Bay.
Come on now. I can't go 4-0. Dub.
I'm surprised you gave him at Carolina.
Really? Why? It's week 2 for them. I mean, everything's new for them.
So Tampa Bay, so 4-0 right now. You have
Green Bay might have been my most aggressive win.
Do you want to give them 3 and let's call it even and not split hairs here?
Let's say they're 3-1 through the first 4.
At New England.
That feels like a game New England might be able to win.
I think New England could win. Yeah. Okay. So we're still at 3 wins. At Houston.
Dub.
Home against the Jaguars.
I like that the game's at home. I think maybe the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars win.
At Colts.
Dub. They get all the rookie quarterbacks are playing them all, aren't they?
Home against the Bears.
Jeez, the schedule is nice. Win.
At Minnesota.
Let's give that a loss, even though I think they can win it.
Okay, so we're 6-4 through the first 10 weeks.
Okay.
At Atlanta.
Can we just give a split with Atlanta? I gave them the first
so
win.
That gives you 7.
Yeah.
Home against Detroit.
Let's go Detroit.
Okay. Home against Carolina.
Is this the bounce back game for Carolina later in the season? Not going to get swept by the Saints?
No.
You don't want to give them a split against Carolina?
No, because you're going to sit here, mess around and fudge the numbers, and they're going to be like 8-9 or 9-8.
Okay, well then give them a win.
Home against the Giants. Right. Tough game.
Yeah,
Tough
maybe.
Game. At LA Rams.
Probably a dub.
At Tampa Bay.
I mean, they can sweep Carolina and Tampa.
You want to say no and say we'll play the law of averages game?
Yes.
Okay, and then week 18 at Atlanta.
This schedule is nice, Kyle.
You got them at 9 going into week 18.
What's their hardest game? What is it?
Must be nice to play in the NFC
like
South.
What and then they play the AFC South too. Their hardest game is Jacksonville.
Tennessee, Carolina, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, New England, Houston, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Chicago, Minnesota, Atlanta, Detroit, Carolina, and you get Detroit at home. Giants, you get Giants at home, at LA, at Bucks, Falcons.
What do they have? They play like 4 playoff teams from last year? And like every team that picked in the top 10?
What would you give for this schedule?
Brother. Are you kidding? I'm glad we did this because this is a huge talking point for the Saints is this schedule.
So we should probably take the over on 9.5 then?
Smash the over.
Smash the over, smash the Saints to win the NFC South is our...
What is that schedule, Kyle?
What's the threat to this not happening?
Derek Carr. Well, I mean, they have Jameis.
Coaching?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, there's not a lot of love for Dennis Allen.
We say Carmichael did a nice job. You know, we've thrown flowers at the staff that Frank Reich's put together in Carolina.
I mean, yeah, injuries is, but it's every team, right? I mean, it's got to come together with Derek Carr, right? That's a thing.
There's a chemistry experiment there that
the D-line has to prove itself, right?
And injuries.
Yeah.
But you could say that for literally every team in the league.
Sure.
So Like their chances.
Who dat?
Who dat say they're going to beat them Saints?
As not many people on the schedule. As
the chant so commonly known by everyone, especially NFL experts, goes, who dat say they're going to beat them Saints? That's going to do it for us here on this episode of Locked On NFL Scouting. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He is Joe Marino. We are the Draft Dudes. We appreciate you guys for making this part of your daily routine. Shout out to the everydayers. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We are out of here tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard, YouTube channel, Takes on Takes. Be there or be square.